Boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? Welcome aboard. It is I, TJ, and welcome to M5 Successful Friends. And this is where we hang out with successful people doing awesome things, especially in the real estate. But this is all about bringing in successful stories, individuals that are doing well, so that we can all learn from their stories. And some of these stories are untold stories, and we dive in to hear from the horse's mouth. Today, I've got a very good friend, someone else that I've been rubbing shoulders with. I didn't know that he was a TV personality and what. But I am privileged to be having and hosting Teboho Mafodi. Did I pronounce that correctly?
No, you pronounced that perfectly fine. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. How's it going, brother?
No, I'm good on you, my brother.
Okay, good. For some of people, they would already know who Teboho is, and I've been fascinated with his journey, and I'm going to speak a little bit more into my fascination on what I have seen of him. But who is Teboho, if I may just start from there?
Okay. Teboho is a young man from the dusty streets of Whiteville, Benoni. I'm one of those that were actually raised in a broken home and within a poverty-stricken background. So, but however, I've always said that interesting in all that, I always knew I had a dream, and I always knew that I'm destined to be successful. But I didn't know when, I didn't know how. And one of the most key things that I wanted to, that I know that I wanted to have the ability to do, which was my dream, was to build my mother a house. But little did I know that obviously, like today, would be supplying hundreds of people with homes and stuff. So it's quite exciting.
Tebo, you mentioned that you come from a broken home. For me, I resonate with that because at around about 3 months, my mom dumped me, and from giving birth, my dad had long left a long time ago, and I then grew up in a foster family. But when you're saying broken home, what does that mean? Was dad not just there, or was mom not there? What do you mean by broken home?
Okay, broken home. It's one not having a stable place to stay, staying from one place to the next.
Sure.
That is one. And broken home, it's one being raised by a single parent with no father around, and moving from that situation to be raised by grandparents and other family members, because they're trying to almost try and give you that form of stability, or a place that you could actually call a home. So broken home, it's sometimes not knowing when is your next meal coming from, or who's gonna even pay for your school fees, for that matter, for you to actually be in a position of going to school. So it is a broken, but I think the beauty about being an African child, you are a child of the community. That it's because of everyone's involvement in your upbringing that makes you contributes to who you become.
Great. I just want to zoom in there a little bit, because a lot of people might actually know what happens if and when you're growing up in a broken home like that, and people take that for granted, that each individual is sort of like growing up, and we're all growing up the same when we do rub shoulders in the school, in the communities where we are. But as a young man, for you, how did this have any impact for you? Because for me, even though I was in a broken home, this was normal for me. So I didn't know anything else until actually the society or other people started asking stupid questions. And I call them stupid questions because now I was asking myself, but where is that coming from? Because this was the normal for me.
True. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, what you're saying, Taurai, it's so true. It was normal, for me, because obviously it was what I had gotten accustomed to.
Yeah.
It takes the world for you to realize that you know what you're actually in a broken home, you know, and it takes you growing up when you look doing an introspection of how you were raised and how you grow up and wanting to do better so that your kids don't have to experience what you've experienced, that you realize to say, hey, this was actually a broken home all along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Coming back to where you are now, you're a man of your own now. You run a business. If you had to look back at your upbringing, would you want to change anything else, knowing what you now know today of who you are?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't want to change anything, especially for my background, because it's what got me hungrier.
Yeah,
It's what got me wanting to go out there and actually make a difference. It's what to the situation so bad. From my side, it all has to do personally with me to say, I wish I could have taken risks sooner, you know? So then I think I would have probably made millions sooner. So, but however, you know, it's never late to grow. It's never late to actually change, your environment. That's why I think I'm very grateful for where I am right now. Because when you look at my life, where I come from and where I am, there's a serious 360-degree change.
yeah. I've shared a stage with you before in the past around property, and this is where I predominantly know you from. Um, and you said that in your opening statement is that one of the things that you wanted to do was just to build your mother a house.
Mm.
Why was that important for you?
Okay. That was important for me because I grew up in a shack.
Yeah,
So it's predominantly what informal settlement, or others what they would call mkukwini, you know.
yeah,
So where you
yeah,
lose one public tap, one public toilet to actually, in that community, because there's no services, there's no electricity, there's no this and that. So, and for me, I think because of knowing the struggles that my mother had gone through to even bear us, you know,
mm,
and to even raise us. So I think for me, it was just wanting to, create a better environment for her so that she could also have a house that she could call her own home. Where even if it rains, you don't need to go around the house chasing every bucket and every container
yeah,
to actually put around different sides of the house so that as obviously it rains in, you're able to not get wet or anything of that kind. So for me, it was mainly that wanting to change that situation for her and for myself as well, to say have a place that you could proudly call home. Because when you go to your friend's home, whether to do homework or to do whatever, that's where as well you literally feel to say, there's really a difference in the way that I live and the way that they live.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think for me it was just around TV. We didn't have a TV, and my friends would speak of the TV, and I didn't know what that was. Um,
Yeah, exactly same here. I didn't know what that was either, you know.
yeah,
So and back in the days, at least we still had that community thing happening, that you would go to your neighbors to watch TV where necessary, you know,
sure,
and you watch TV on their time, on their terms,
yeah,
and watch what everyone else is watching. And I remember I've got a friend 3 houses away from where I grew up. They used to have an Mnet decoder at the time, you know. So and they used to catch in open time. In open time, it used to play between 5 and 7. You know, where you're able to watch something that is on paid television. I mean, we didn't know what all that was. And the first time we get exposed to that, I mean, a TV was used, a car battery would be used to actually play TV. And you actually go around this puzzle shop, wherever, and pay
yeah,
2 rands to get it charged. So that later on you're able to have lights or even play that small radio or whatsoever. So it was really tough times. I mean, and people do not know, in regards to poverty, to say there's eggs. I don't know if you know, Terence, that there's powder eggs
yeah.
that are available in the market. So obviously, my mother was volunteering at the local clinic. So now they would be obviously doing feeding schemes and stuff. So sometimes as a form of payment, they'll be given peanut butter, they'll be given powder eggs for us to eat. I think that's why all of those things I do not eat today because I ate them so much when I didn't have a choice. So I think I'm still traumatized from them.
Teboho, you know, in my book that I wrote recently, From Bad Dad to
Mm,
Property Mogul in 2 years, I mentioned the fact that these days I do not eat to eat and fill up my stomach, because that's what I used to do when I was young.
true.
I've now realized that you can eat to just indulge your taste buds, you know. Um, but I didn't know this. Um, but on a serious note, Teboho, you know, if I look at your upbringing and with what I now know now in the society, generally the society dictates, actually, even with all the stats that's available, they dictate that a person who's actually raised in your circumstance, the reality is that, number one, they're going to be either in a jail cell somewhere, they're going to be high on the criminal side. Um,
Correct.
they're just a nuisance in the in the society. But there you are now, you have resonated from there, and you actually have a business. You're providing housing for many people. You're motivating other people in what you do. How did you get that breakthrough? How did you just get away from that mentally?
Okay. You know what you're saying, Taraj, is actually so true. Because it's really what is happening,
Yeah,
and the society rejects you before even you take out your head,
right.
you know, and let's correct you. I'm not running a business, I'm running businesses. So it's
Come on.
important that
I apologize.
so it's important that it's out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, society rejects you before you even have a chance. Society rejects you before you could even try.
Mm-hmm.
And a whole lot more. But I've realized for me in this case, one thing that helped me was actually my faith.
Okay.
I think one of the greatest things my parents, being both my mother and my grandfather, one of the greatest gifts that they gave me was to give me religion or faith, you know. I think at the time, obviously, what they gave me was religion, and religion gave me my faith, you know.
Right.
So I could understand to say there is nothing that is too impossible for God, you know. And that's where half of the time you'd find I'd spend my weekends at church if ever I'm not home, looking after my grandfather and the likes. And in that scenario, I got to see people living. I got to see kids that were in a better situation or better environment than the one that I come from and everything else, yet not being judgmental of who I was because we're in the same church, or because we're serving the same God, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And for me, being raised by a grandfather that, mind you, didn't know best, dreamed on my behalf because he always said to me, I dream and I wish that God blesses you, that you live a life that my kids will never live, you know. And right now, it was the power of a spoken word. I wish that you could, have your own family and own businesses, you know. And at the time, I mean, I was practically living out of his pension money. And to compensate for that, I mean, he would sell cold drinks and sweets at home. So he was running a mini business or a mini spaza shop. But at the time, you wouldn't necessarily call it a business because it was a way of surviving. So
Right.
I think that gave me ability to dream. And obviously, with what I was seeing at church, it gave me faith to believe that one day my situation can change. And two, it gave me exposure to see how other people are living. Because how do you want and envy what you've never seen in your life? Do you understand? So it's something else. But being exposed, it's important. That's why I always say to people, it's important to expose yourself so that you're able to see what other people are doing out there and how other people are living out there so that you could adjust your dream according to that or according to what you've exposed. That's why even the Bible says, for as far as your eyes can see, I will give you.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because growing up, and I'm gonna speak for myself here. I gave an example the other day to someone, and I said to them, I actually didn't know that there is a doctor who's called a gynecologist up until I was married, right? And the only reason why I didn't know that is because within my community and everything that I knew, there was no one like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because I didn't know that, growing up, I actually never aspired maybe to be a doctor who's a gynecologist. It's just a random example, right?
Yeah.
But the same with being a property investor, the same, because none of those people were in my surroundings. And even when I started doing property investment, the first time I had contact with you was actually on one of your guys' buildings that you're trying to dispose out in Durban. And that's when I started knowing about you. But before that, I even though I was staying in a complex, right, I actually couldn't comprehend the fact that one can actually own the entire complex, because it's just out of my sphere of thinking. And when I started now exploring and seeing, talking to other people, and I started understanding that Maboneng is actually owned with a couple of guys who have come together, and this is a precinct that they have built, right? So it's just about what is it that you're exposing yourself, and then your mind starts expanding from there in terms of what you can do. So I want to come back to find now your faith is taking you into this space now. But how did you now get into the property space? How was your starting point in that?
My starting point was I actually got back in the days. I think the first thing that I got exposed to before I was exposed to property was computers.
Okay.
While I was in high school. So I'm one of those which we would call a self-taught IT guru, because I actually learned computers from a book, and ended up fixing computers and the likes. So the late Mama Adelaide Tambo, they were launching development centers within the township. So he gave me my first opportunity to actually be a computer trainer. In that, because they were reporting to Department of Social Development. So community development center, they more like network offices for the social development.
Yeah.
Where social development could actually take easily programs to the community for the community to develop. So part of our key aim was poverty alleviation. So poverty alleviation through skills development, So I had to teach people computers and the likes. So in that job, I remember when I got the opportunity, my first salary was actually earning 1.3, So and I think after 6 months of being employed there, I got to be a computer center manager.
Right.
So and my salary got to 2.5, So and at the time I didn't have a car, I didn't have anything that for me of significant that I would point. And I started looking for houses to say, how much are houses and the like. So I think, how God works miraculously. I had a friend who had just gotten back from the States and was exposed to property. And strange enough, she was more or less our age. And she was now taking up the opportunity to become an estate agent. Okay. So, and part of the first properties that she got this property that was initially 80,000. So, and it was on the market that they were selling. So he told me about the property. It was in a township called Watema. Right. I've never laid my foot in that township ever again. Before I went to actually go see this property. And when I got there, this property was so bad, TJ. It had shacks around it. There were people drinking in Mbamba there because Mbamba was being sold there. It was very bad. But interesting enough, because it was better than a shack, it was a home. Better than the shack that I come from. I got to see an opportunity in this house. To say this, I could actually buy this, and make it a home. So, and I remember we tried to negotiate for the property. Actually, negotiated it for to about 70,000. So, and they accepted the offer, and that's how I actually got into the first my property. I had actually bought my very first property myself. So,
Yeah.
if for an investment or anything of that kind, it was for me to really have a decent home to go to after work. Because right now I was going to work and the likes, wearing a tie, wearing a shirt. I remember at the time, PQ clothing was still starting at the time. So they would sell tuning shirts for about 20 rands, 10 rands and whatever. These shirts that they're very shiny. When you iron it, you cannot just put an iron directly on it because it's more
Yeah.
like a plastic, it will absorb. So you
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to iron it with a very wet cloth on it, and it ties for 2 rands. So really for me, I just wanted to have that. That's how actually I bought this first property that really got me exposed to property itself. And for me, it's something that it was a 240 square meter house, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and it had 2 outside rooms and a garage. You know, that was built on it. As much as yes, it was dilapidated and whatever, but the structure itself was strong.
Right.
And when I got approved, actually, it was a shock. I think at the time there was no national credit regulator,
Yeah.
that regulates affordability and whatsoever. I think they just look at, okay, this house, how much will I need to pay? Pay 700-800, I can afford it,
Yeah.
and they approved my bond. Then that's how I bought my first property.
What did you do with your first property?
Okay.
Did you move
What I
in?
did with my first property, one, after I got this property, so now coming in, you know, if you know what it's a typical old township.
Yeah.
And what I had not realized that this house was a semi-attached house, you know. So it was a semi-attached, and next door the house is a big. So now one of the things, so I started wanting to work on the house, because I had a dream or a desire as to the kind of house that I want to build or that I want to live in.
Yeah.
So I had my own desires. Though one of the first thing was tiling that I wanted to put it into the house.
And you
I
were very
remember I put it.
famous for that for the time period where you're putting in tiles.
Hey, dude. And let me tell you, to see that even my friends, when we speak to my friends, they say they saw me then that this man has got big dreams in life. Because let me tell you, I mean, one of the first things that I did, I changed the windows. I added big windows, you know, plastered the house, inside, outside. Then from the now, when I wanted to do the tiling, the floor was not straight because they had taken rocks and whatsoever, and they had just done the foundation with those. So in the middle of that floor, there'll be bumps and bumps, of it. So now we had to literally dig the floor inside the entire house to actually take out those gigantic bricks and and stones to actually put proper concrete to actually get the floor level so that I'm able to fit in my tiles. And let me tell you, at the time, I remember there were tiles that were about 100 by 100, 300 by 300, because I had been at a friend's house in town, that had a 600 by 600. It was my first time seeing that. I wanted that tile.
Yeah.
And I started putting a 600 by 600. It had an outside bathroom that I ended up closing it on the outside, opened it on the inside so that it becomes an ensuite. Changed the bath, added a shower, and put a automatic gate motor on the house. And one thing that I was not realizing in me doing all of these things, some of these things I mean, taking up personal loans to actually do these things. Some of these things, because now obviously I was an IT person, I'd fix people computers and sell people computers with the money they'd pay me. I'd be doing all of these things. But
Right.
little did I realize to say, dude, you're over investing, you know. And here am I making this house a small heaven, literally when you get inside the house or inside my yard alone, you know, you forget that you're in the township. You
Yeah.
only remember in the morning when you get out that, oh, yeah, I was in the township. So, but now I had over invested, you know, this house. Did with the house. I mean, I ended up selling the house. Before I actually sold it, I had started renting out the house.
Yeah.
So I rented it out because it was a two-bedroom. I rented out the main house itself, and I rented out to the two rooms outside, and I converted the garage into a room itself, so that I could actually be able to rent out. So, and I mean the area, I mean itself, I could rent. I mean, one, let's say the smallest room you could rent it for is like less 600, another one for 800, another one for I think about 1,000. At the time, I mean, you couldn't go over 1,000
Yeah.
in terms of renting the house. Yeah, the room itself, and in the house itself, because of the area, at most the best thing that I could get out of it in terms of the rental was 1.8. You know, so um, so and how with that it really helped me, I mean, pay off my property within a space of 5 to 7 years, in terms of paying off that property, because I mean I was making an income of about 4.2 out of the house. So and then I was just paying I mean about 800 bond on that particular house.
Yeah. Teboho,
Yeah.
you highlighted a couple of things that I was going to ask you. The first one was around, you bought this house, yes, you bonded it, and then thereafter you did all these renovations. And I was going to ask the question, where did you get the money to, and which you have covered. So thank you on that. The next point that I wanted to highlight is that I've been traveling into a lot of townships, and I see magnificent houses. And no doubt, am I saying magnificent, like properly built up, upstairs, jacuzzi, and all of those things.
I know what you mean.
And I'm like thinking, but you're overcapitalizing in here. Why are you not moving into another area where you can do that and you can bank your money? And I'm glad that you have highlighted it here. Is
Yeah.
that a problem? Or we just don't know what we don't know and we are okay with where we are?
We
Like,
just don't know what we know, and we are okay with what we are. So, simple thing. I've seen even in RDP areas, you
yeah,
know, there's somebody built a big mansion in an RDP area, taking up the entire stand.
right.
Sometimes to an extent of even buying the neighbor. You see, to say this person has got the money. The only problem just needed was the land. Do you
Right.
understand? So
Yes.
for them to build. I've realized in those instances, you find sometimes it's people that want that they're not looking at living anytime soon. They have no desire whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, I know because my mother was one of those. I mean, when I bought my mother a house in town. My mother refused to leave the township. You
Wow.
know, so now he had to now buy, and another thing, she was very precise to say as well. The township that she grew up in is the township she wanna stays in. You
Sure.
know, and right now she says no, in town the people don't visit each other. Whenever there's a funeral or whatever, people are minding their own business. In the township, we're able to have a community thing going on. Whenever there's death, we go, and peel veggies and do this and that,
Yeah.
from the neighbors and everything. I think she wanted that community thing. That's why I realized to say other people would go to an extent of doing that because they don't have no desire of living, and others they just have a desire of wanting to live in a better house, but they don't know better you
Mm.
know in terms of I can change area. There's nothing wrong with moving. And I'll make an example. No offense to people that are buying these small Cosmo houses. I'll never buy that house. Not Cosmo City, these cosmopolitan houses, the
Yeah.
house that I'm talking about,
I mean,
because
your
you
mind
find
has
those.
expanded now, right? I mean, you're different now.
Yes, because right now you find that they can buy those houses, you know, for about 700-800 rands, almost
Yeah.
1 million.
Yeah.
A two-bedroom house, small thing. Those things are 75,000 square meters and the likes. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
where else in one of these old suburbs or whatsoever, that 700,000 can get you a better house in a better area, just an in town somewhere where it will give you better value, give you better space, where you're able to find value for money. A couple of years' time, you're able to make so much with that money. Some of these areas, you'll realize that they hardly grow in value, because I've got a house that I had bought somewhere. 10 years later, I couldn't even sell that house at maybe double the price or maybe even 20% extra. Instead, it depreciates. That's what I've realized. To say our parents have been lying to us all along, saying, no, buy a house, it's an investment and whatever. And not to say they were lying to us, they didn't know better.
Yeah.
That's why today I'm able to confidently say not every house is an investment.
Correct.
That's why it's important to establish the why when you're looking at investing, to say why you're investing, and why in that particular area and why this particular house and the price that you're paying. And you realize that when you're questioning your why, slowly but surely your scope, becomes smaller and smaller. Sometimes you even realize that sometimes the things that we buy because of peer pressure, because of societal pressure, it's sometimes what we do not need. You understand? So right now, some of the people that you find building mansions in the township and whatsoever, others, it's a question to say they do not necessarily need that, but because they want to be the first big house in that township or in that.
Yes.
Because even today, when you ask to say who owned the first double story in Soweto, everyone will tell you Richard Mabonye. Do you understand? Back in those days, it was a in thing to say the biggest house in this township or the biggest this and that. And reality is you cannot find any more better.
Yeah. But I want to jump in there to say that you started investing in the townships, and you have now progressed to affordable housing outside townships, in townships, and you've now progressed into owning now big buildings, and you've also now progressing into a better LSM. And that particular journey of you just progressing into the different LSMs as we go through, or should I say, people that get paid more and more. Why did you choose to then leave the township as your predominant investment strategy for you? No offense to anyone else who's still investing heavily in the townships. I think there's good value. I was looking at a TPM report for some of the parts in Soweto. Almost like all of the houses are like 99% no bond, right? So which means that there's heavy capital in those neighborhoods. And it's no different, Soweto, from all the other townships. I'm sure the situation is the same. But why did you now progress into the different spheres of investments in the property sector?
Okay, I think it's mainly because I wanted better.
Sure.
And part of wanting better, it's being exposed to better.
Right.
And as well, right now, remember when I started investing, it was not a question of running the numbers. So now I can run the numbers, look at TPN, look at different opportunities that are presented to me to make better decisions, to see where can I get more value, for my money, where is most likely for my money to grow as well. Because right now, investing has become a business. It's no longer about a hobby or making extra cash a month kind of thing, So yes, so yes, I've realized to say overcapitalizing in the township. I've realized to say whenever there was a need for me to sell or for me to raise capital, and I decided to say, you know what, for my portfolio, let me sell the less performing ones, perhaps. It's either to a startup, to this and that. I've realized banks undervalue the township. So half of the time you might find that whatever investment that I've put in onto that, you might have every detail to the T as to how much you've put in there. but you might not be able to make it. I would have to sell it to another investor or to somebody maybe that have retired or that got retrenched and they've just gotten their money and they just want to put it in investment or anything of that kind. So right now, and it's as well realizing to say my investing in the township has so many limitations, around it, from a special planning point of view to infrastructure point of view, to size, point of view. I mean, I've not stopped investing in the township. I have, but now I've looked at lucrative townships, like your Cosmo, like your Soweto, your Kagiso, and high density townships. And as well, because of experience, now I know what I can do there to still be able to make up my money. At least have one property pays me 20, 30,000, and maybe have a couple of those. Collectively, obviously, they make up good money. But however, with the same effort that we could put on a big property, let's say in 80, in 80 beds, perhaps, and it gives you, outright, close to about 300 baht, to about, no, 300,000, or whatsoever, and outright in a year, that gives you more than a bar. Do you understand? So, and yes, the effort is the same. It's just that the technicalities and the risk that are different, in terms of doing that. And you find as well in those places you easily better offload as well, because if you want to offload, you're able to say, hey, TJ, I've got this assets, these are the numbers, these are the lease agreements that I have, and this and that, and they're able to give you better returns in terms of that investment. It's really being exposed and wanting better and wanting to grow the magnitude, obviously, of what you're doing. I mean, seeing the likes of obviously Maboneng as well, like you've said, and at the time, I remember, I mean, Maboneng earlier on when it started, I really wanted to. I can even show you the original plan that we had initially set for certain parts of Maboneng. But obviously, it's an unfortunate thing for me and you, TJ. We don't have uncle buddies and dad's buddies that are playing golf that you could easily raise the money to. so, so even if, I mean, in your case, you were employed in a bank, so you were much more exposed to people that had money and this and that. And you might have had the experience of handling, let's say, big capital and things like that. But it doesn't matter, for as long as that money is not yours, and you cannot reflect that money on your balance sheet or on your bank statement, that will limit you in terms of the accessibility of funds or capital that you could actually work with.
I want to zoom in on the point of, and this point here that I'm going to ask you is more around what I've seen around you. You speak of doing better. You say, I've seen better because and now I'm doing better. And I have seen you relentlessly learning, right?
Without a doubt.
Yeah. The other day you were celebrating, I think it was a degree of some sort. Maybe you can share with us. The other day I bumped in with you in a class where they're talking about investments, and you're continuously pouring education in yourself. And I would think a guy who's got several businesses, several investments into buildings, doesn't need any new knowledge. Why are you learning so much?
Let me make an example. TJ, in regards to information that is out there in the public already.
Yeah.
You can look at an article written about me with Muachi, about a green building project, the first of its kind that I was doing in the city of Egoroleni, So I mean, they got to value our property assets, our portfolio, on its own. And I got an opportunity to do a show called 6 Zeros to My Name with SWC1, where they do this research pack on you. So they don't just take you because people are saying this about you. They want to see facts. They want to see bank statements. They want to see, things like that. I mean, currently, our portfolio, was valued at over 700 million. In terms of assets that we've collected. But for me, I think one of the greatest things that I've realized. It's one, I didn't get an opportunity to empower or to go to school, you know. So I literally had to empower myself. I mean, my employees have asked me consistently, even now, to say, dude, why are you going to school? Because you do not need this, according to them. Do you
Yes.
understand? And for me, it's all well and good. Right now, yes, I had made my name, myself a name. But for me, I think it was a question realizing to say I'm growing. You know, the relevance of stories of rags to riches, you
Mm.
know, in a matter of time, it loses the relevancy. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And right now, I've seen heavyweight property investors and business people that were owning businesses in the range of billions and whatsoever, you know, go down. So, and for me, that's why I think I've always valued education. I mean, now I'm currently doing my MBA, you know, and I want to go all the way to PhD. It's one of the dreams that I've had to say I want to be Dr. Mafodi one day, you
Come on.
know. And for me, it's as well to understanding that right now education is two terms. There's education that you get from an academic institution, you
You're
know,
right.
and there's education that you're able to get from books, get from internet, from information that is out there, you know. And even in any education that you get, there's limitations around it. You know, you find that some of the systems, I'll make an example. I always say that a business that needs you to run, it's not a business, it's a spaza shop. Because if ever you're not there, TJ, making good decisions, you know, or being consulted and whatsoever, then it means chances are that business will go under if without a year when you in it. It doesn't matter
Right.
how big it is.
Right.
So right now I value systems and processes. So me, part of me going to school is to better equip myself to say what better systems can I get? You know, what better information can I learn? I think the biggest mistake that we tend to have is to think that you are better than the next person, you know.
Yeah.
And reality is, I mean, I've learned things from you that for me I overlooked or I never took into consideration, or that I even had from somebody else that turns out the person might not even have 10% of the portfolio that we have, kind of thing. You
Mm.
understand? But you might find that they've got the principle. The only thing that I would need to implement that principle on a bigger magnitude or on steroids, then it will fly or it will flourish. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So
Yeah.
it's those small things that you realize for me that, you know what, education, it's important. And as well, coming to the terms that besides my business, I sit on boards, you know. Right now, as a country, we are sitting in a position where we've got parastatals that are suffering, you
Yeah.
know, because politicians have been given powers and this and that. Do you understand? And right now, people that are in the business community don't want to be, you know, going there to serve their skills to actually better our country or our economic activities, kind of thing. That's why you'd find them running them down and doing this and that. Because how does somebody from a township, I've seen people from a township, one year this person has been in the township, no car, nothing, you know,
Yeah.
and another year, you know, they've got this political appointment that pays them, let's say, 2 million a year. This
Yeah.
person has never even handled 100,000 in his entire life. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So, and right now, this person, because of his political portfolio or appointment, you know, is the boss to the guys that have gone to school, that have their masters, that have their degrees, and this and that. And they tell those people to jump and they ask how high. Do you understand? And reality
There's
is
something
something that
wrong.
there's so much wrong with that, and we do not see that. And
Yeah.
as much as we're a new democracy, right now, part of being a scholar, obviously, I read and I do research. I've seen with other countries as well. A political party that gets us into freedom is not a political party that takes us into economic growth half of the time. You
Okay.
know,
That's deep.
so right now, it's, yes, and so there are many and greater chances that there might be a political change. Whether it's going to happen in 10 years, going to happen in 20 years or whatever, but it's going to get to that point up until people decide to wake up and do something about it. Do you understand? So right now,
But
part
let
of
me
what I
say,
do
having
now,
said
I
that,
sit
right?
on boards for different companies. So,
Yeah.
and I get to share my expertise on how to. TJ, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. No. 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 Continue.
Okay, yeah. So part of sitting on boards, I get to share my expertise, and I get to learn from other executives as well to say what is happening in the market,
Right.
and piggybacking on their expertise, on their skills, and even on their networks. Do you understand?
Right.
So rather than just become an entrepreneur, I've become a business executive.
Yes.
That is holistic, and that's what I'm building myself to be. I don't want to be just some guy who took a chance and made it in property. I want to be really a holistic individual that has even equipped themselves further, to further. I mean, the Bible says, "Study and show yourself approved." So that's what
Mhm.
I'm trying to do, to actually study further and actually show myself approved and be deserving of whatever position or appointment that God puts me in at that point in time. But more than anything, is to really grow a sustainable business and contribute drastically to to our economy of our country, and I mean of Africa as well. Because I mean, with us, we're not only doing business within the continent, we're doing business outside.
Yeah.
Imagine like getting to America. They want your expertise, or they reading your bio, and you've gone as far as metric.
Yeah.
It really carries no weight. And if ever you're gonna want someone to entrust you with their money, to say right now I need 10 million to invest into this property, or 20 million to invest into this property, one of the things people do, they invest in you. So
Yeah.
they need to see how hungry you are, or how much you've equipped yourself as well to be able to handle their money.
Correct. Tebo, we can go on, man. Something else that you spoke about around the political spheres around coming in from a space of struggle, and you're coming in into an independence, and then you're going into financial independence, and you almost saying that these are different political parties that can potentially take you into those different journeys. The thing for me there, it can be potentially a mindset of where are we going, because when the mind is only going to work with what it's got right now, and you're fighting for this, you're
Mm.
fighting for that, but you're actually maybe just omitting the other piece, and even though when you've got it, your mind is still just going to continue fighting for what it knows without actually knowing that, hey, we've arrived here, but what's the next thing? And I'm always fighting with some of my brothers that are in heavy spiritual warfare and things like that. And I'm like, guys, I understand that in the church community, we need to be casting demons and all of those things. But what happens when the demon is gone? Can I not now live normal life? When can I start
Hey.
building my income? When can I start building my family?
Mm.
It can't be all about fighting demons all the time. Now, Teboho, in 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 everything that you have done, you've journeyed out from just being someone in the township, trying to make a name for yourself, having now realized your dream of just building your mom a house, and I'm sure there's many other dreams that you've wanted to do for your mom, and growing to be this strong individual
Right.
you've become now. And up until now, you're looking at not just South African business or businesses, and you're just looking at exploding. If you had to give like two advices to anyone else, either be in a township or they're just stuck in wherever they are, what would be those two things that you can say, hey guys, if you had to venture out, let's say in the property, which is what we know best, me and you, what is that the two things or three things that they should be doing?
Okay. The question is, what are the two advices that I would give somebody from the township that wants
Yeah.
to get into property?
Yeah.
So the first one is, I would say they must equip themselves,
Yeah.
because it is important to equip yourself so that you can make better decisions for yourself. So that one is very key. Because right now, let's be honest, TJ, people have got the most valuable asset that they're not using, or that they're undervaluing, being
Sure.
their pay. you know right now, if ever you are back at the bank, still being an executive, earning what you're earning now and having that pay slip, tell me that you wouldn't make better financial investment decisions.
100%. Much better.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, do you know what? There's people out there. that are earning more than me and you combined, with a very lucrative and best pay slip that banks would jump to finance them and whatsoever. But when you look at some of their financial decisions, you realize to say school only taught them surviving skills or for them to actually get the job done, but not financial education. You realize that it's a complete ball game. Right now, that's why for me, I'm continuously investing in myself because I've seen the value of that. I always say the more you learn is the more you earn.
Come on.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's it.
so
That's it.
yes, so that's why I would encourage the people to empower yourself, get yourself equipped. If you don't have money to go to school, I mean, there's people like TJ. There's your podcast. There's many other information people could subscribe to get them as much information as they can.
Mhm.
So to actually be able to get them a better decision. And two, it's understanding early the difference between good debt and bad debt. You know, we were taught we were raised in a culture that we were told to fear debt.
Yeah.
But when you look at our counterparts, they create wealth out of debt. Do you understand? So, and for me, if ever I had known better, I would be in a position of have made better debt decisions. Yes, I was fortunate to say my first debt was my bond. Do you understand? But obviously, afterwards, I went to still make uh, financial decisions of buying a car I didn't need, or things like that, that I could have easily avoided. So right now, it's important to say the minute you have equipped yourself, understand your credit and the benefits thereof,
Mm.
so that you're able to take chances, or so that you're able, it's not even chances, so that you take a relevant risk, investments, benefits that could actually benefit you. Because if ever I'd known better, I wouldn't have even bothered, to go to these insurance companies and try to invest my money that's going to give me 5% a year or at most 7% a year. The next thing they come back and say 1.5% is for administrative costs,
Yeah.
and you realize it was not actually 5%, it was 3.5% because there was still five. So things like that, I would have better invested better earlier, and I would have better known to say I'd rather invest than save, because right
Yeah.
now, let me tell you, I'm one guy that I cannot sit with money in my bank account. It bends me,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking what's the next best investment I could put in and things like that. So, and right now I've known the value of saving versus the value of investing versus saving and things like
Right.
that. So yeah, I think for me those two things I think are the most key things that I would realize. That's why you find sometimes there's people that didn't go to school, but they've got necessary life skills that makes
Yeah.
them make way better money that you could ever made when with a degree. you know Necessarily academic achievement doesn't necessarily guarantee you success, but
Okay.
it's that life skills that guarantee you success. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
So with you, TJ, you as much as yes, you were in corporate first, right now, banking system and everything else, you better understood the system, you understood the banking environment, you understood corporate. Do you understand?
Mhm.
But the one thing that you didn't get out of anywhere else was life skills,
Sure.
the street smartness. And
Yeah.
right now you've taken that corporate experience, expertise, skills, and everything, and you combine it with your street smartness. That's why now you're able to make better financial decisions. You're able to make better, life decisions. That's why now you're able to provide for your family and even wanting to become in a better position.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Teboho, before you go, it's been a privilege actually to just talking to you, man. And in this segment that we're going to go through into is just to understand you a little bit better as an individual. And without thinking, Teboho, I just want you to answer that question, honest and straightforward. It's around about 4 or 5
Okay.
questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
On a most chilled day, where can one find you?
At home with my laptop.
What's your favorite pastime?
My favorite?
Pastime.
My favorite pastime. You
Yeah.
mean what I do during my or what?
If you had any free time at all, what would you do?
Research.
Okay. And what's your favorite business book?
Think and Grow Rich.
Okay. Do you have any favorite quote?
Go big or go home.
Right. What does success really look for you?
Freedom to do anything, anytime, everywhere.
I'm
That is
sure
for
you.
me is success.
Okay, good. I'm sure you've watched the movie Ocean 11,
I have.
right?
I know all the oceans.
If that was your power team, who would you select to be on your team?
Sure. I don't know them by names.
Yeah.
But not Angelina Jolie. Is it no the lady? Who's it? Is it there's a lady? No, what is it? Charlize Theron or Angelina Jolie?
Yeah. So
The one with
basically,
the
what
blonde.
happened in the movie, right? That guy had a mission, and he had to look for people that he needed to work
Yes.
with. So in the same concept,
Yeah.
right? Your mission right now is just to be out
Yeah.
there. But if you're to have any
Yeah.
team members on your team in South Africa right now or across the world, who would you want to be in that team?
Okay. Right now, I might not mention names because I know some of the skills that I want I've not met yet.
Okay, okay,
but if ever from known people, I'll definitely take Sisan Gebulana.
right,
So because it's a person that has gone against the system, the entire industry went against him, but he
sure,
still managed to take risk and make himself a success.
right,
You know, then I'll take a guy called Timothy Maurice Webster. Yeah.
right,
So because he's a guy that understands the psychology behind branding and how to build better brands.
right,
So because I've better understood that it's better to build a brand than build a business. So people always invest in the brand. So I'd definitely take Richard Branson
yeah,
because he's got the ability to take risks, and he's got the tenacity to reinvent himself all the time and just keep on pushing. Then definitely Elon Musk. He's got the ability to risk everything that he has, to actually go out there and make it and make handy. So
you
I
guys call it
definitely
together.
take Bill Gates.
Yeah,
And the reason I'll take Bill Gates, I think he's just, excuse my French, I think he's just a, how do I put it? I think it's just a good bullshitter, excuse my French.
okay,
Because he knows the ability that because of who he is, he's able to sell everything and everyone, and people will buy just because of him.
right,
Mm. And right now he's currently leveraging, of situations to create more wealth. Do you
yes,
understand?
yeah,
So whether being non-profit, whether it being social ills or whatever, I think for me it's that. But I think within a close range, I definitely get a good lawyer.
yeah,
You know, a damn good guys. There's lawyers and there's lawyers, eh? So,
yeah, yeah, I
so,
know that.
so I definitely get a good accountant.
Yeah,
Who's a tax practitioner as well. You
right,
know, so people that study legislature, not people that understand law, because there's a huge difference. The same goes to accountants. And two, I'll get good executors.
you got
You
a
know,
team, you got a big team, brother.
yes, no, no, no. You need a good team, especially looking at the magnitude that you wanna go.
Yes, yes,
Definitely is, and I definitely take you as part of my team. That one you must hear why I would take you.
okay,
One.
I'm scared.
Okay, I take you because I think the most consistent thing that you have is persistence.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I know deals, that you've literally hit flat. Do you understand?
yeah,
But you've always managed to pick yourself up and go to the next one or try the next one. You know, I'd pick you because I know the number of no's that you've gotten. You know, and because someone didn't know you or someone didn't take you serious or whatsoever, but you've always remained consistent in terms of pushing. Doesn't matter the number of people that are voting for you, and it doesn't matter the number of audience, I've once upon a time gotten into your storyline. Let me tell you, you were seriously delivering good content, and guess what? You had 5 viewers, but but you were delivering like you had 50. Do you understand? So, so I think with with your ability, I know that I could take something that nobody's looking at, and we can definitely take it into a magnitude. And with that, my brother, know that sometimes we tend to want to appreciate people when it's late, or we don't have the guts to say uh, things in people's faces or whatever. I mean, I respect your craft.
Yeah.
I respect your hustle. I know where you come from. I've got no doubt where you're going. So and definitely, I think you're one of the people that I think in this country and in the continent we should really look out for. One thing that I would say though, is that take more chances, take more risk, and get out of the safe space. I think you'll get to see God's plan for your life.
Thank you, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it from Teboho. He's just been giving us so much knowledge, imparted who he is, what he does, and I am hoping that you have learned something from him. I've definitely learned quite a lot, besides him, buttering me a little bit and telling me of my days when I had 5 people. Hey, I was visualizing it was 500,000.
You were.
Teboho has been great. Thanks a lot for honoring us with your time. We know that time is of essence. And at the back of this, we have had immense technical challenges. But I am pleased that you have been part of this. So thanks a lot for your time.
No, definitely. Thank you for having me, TJ, and looking forward to future endeavors.
Boom, boom. That's it from M5 Successful Friends. We'll catch you out on the next podcast. God bless and goodbye.